Hi, welcome to Life in a Bottle, Season 2, Episode 3. I'm Kyle, back again this week with another exciting wine. We're going back across the pond to the old world. Where are we? We're in Spain. We're in northern Spain in Galicia, and inland of Rías Baixas, a more commonly known Galician wine region. We're in Ribeira Sacra. This is the 2017 Castro Candaz Finca el Curvado, Ribeira Sacra. So, quick primer on who makes this wine. Castro Candaz is the name of this project. This is a joint venture between a couple of pretty well-known legendary rockstar Galician winemakers, Raul Perez and Rodrigo Mendez. These guys are known for making super classic Galician-style wines, both white and red. And they do these they make these wines in a way that emphasizes the terroir of these very carefully selected sites. So this is a junior wine, and I say junior, this is like their village level wine to some of their higher cuvées, which go for 3 to 4 to 5 times the price. So you're getting a lot of wine for the price, especially in this bottling. So as I mentioned, we are inland of Rías Baixas in Galicia, so northern Spain, just north of Portugal. We're along the Seal River, which I'm probably pronouncing horribly despite my last name being Martinez. So at this wide point in the Seal River, there's some gently sloping shores. There's a little bit more granite in the soil than the slate you normally find in the area. And it's a little bit cooler than a lot of other vineyard sites throughout Ribeira Sacra. So these grapes get to ripen a little bit more slowly, a little bit more consistently. But they're also harvesting just a touch on the early side, so they're keeping that freshness in the grape. And that just means balance. You get some great concentration from that long, steady, slow ripening, but you also get that freshness and that bite that stays in that wine, that mouth-watering acidity. So a few different grapes go into this blend. Mencia, or Mencia as it's known in the area, is the workhorse of the region. So that comprises the large majority of the blend. We got a couple other grapes kind of trickling in after that. Caño, which is another grape native to the area that's most commonly grown in Portugal, along with Alicante Bouschet. And then a little bit of a grape that we've seen in other iterations. Locally, it's known as Domingo Perez, which I feel like a lot of different regions in Spain like to assign different names for different grapes. Trousseau is how we know this grape. Most commonly, I think, around the shop, seen in regions like the Jura in France. So there's, I don't want to say a hodgepodge, but a little bit of this and a little bit of that. These grapes are coming from vines that are between 45 and 70 years old, so they've had plenty of time to establish a vast, deep root network. So they're bringing up all these minerals and nutrients from varying layers of subsoil, which again, as our experience has indicated, can lead to more and more complexity in the wine. As far as how this wine is made, there's no electricity at the winery. It's kind of out there in the boonies, so they don't have sorting machines, they don't have destemmers, they're sorting by hand, and instead of destemming, they are allowing these grapes, after being pressed whole cluster, to macerate with that entire cluster in there. They're macerating for about 30 days before they are transferred to great big wooden vats, neutral wooden vats, to finish fermentation, after which they are racked again into smaller neutral French oak barrels where they spend a year before bottling. So each step along the way, they're getting a little bit more complexity from that neutral oak without the influence or without the flavors of oak. So you get a little bit of micro-oxidation coming through that barrel, you get a little creaminess. They're not filtering, they're just racking off the fine lees. So it's a pretty hands-off winemaking style, as is commonly found from these guys. They tend to be pretty minimalist. They really want the wine to express that specific site from where they get these grapes. So to dive into the glass, it's such a cool wine because it's got these super rustic edges. It's a little rough around the edges, but it's still polished and pretty. There's some concentration to that warm, ripe red fruit. It's like wild strawberries and red currants. There's like a dried herb, kind of underbrushy flavor. What does Cody call it? Soupois is the term that he uses, that like undergrowth, that woody herb kind of smell. There's a little bit of stony mineral on the finish too, on the back of the palate, or the back of the nose, I should say. That kind of creeps up behind that like super dried soil earthiness, that dark dried soil earthiness is kind of comes right out of the glass at you. The palate follows suit. Warm fruit. It's ripe, but it's still got some tartness. There's still a little bit, like my mouth is still watering after that sip. And those rustic edges. I don't want to say burly, it's not broad-shouldered, it's still medium-bodied, but it's got some character to it. It's got a little scruff to it. I think it's super representative of wines in the region and kind of the character that they can express while still being not completely polished. The tannins are just north of medium, so there's some tannin there for sure. It's a little chewy on the finish. I think wines like this in the region are known to be paired with grilled meats and cured meats, and this is right along there with it. I think some jamon iberico or prosciutto or something along those lines would be great. Grilled chicken or pork would be killer. Even beef, maybe not something too rich, but something a little bit leaner. Sirloin would be great with this. Burgers, absolutely, especially at the price that we're able to offer it this week. For the third wine of the new year, I think we are off to a killer start. Raul and Rodrigo, cheers to you guys.